We are back with the Vigor Life podcast. We had a little bit of a glitch actually, but I'm so excited to have none other than my brother Andy McCloy back on the show. Before it kind of kicked us out, we were just saying that he was on the show in like 2000, probably I'm gonna say 18, but it was a while ago, and a lot of things have certainly changed for both of us. But with that said, first of all, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I think the first time was 2017, 2018. I think I've been on one or two other times since, but it is wild how far that like this podcast and your gym has come. Cause I remember being in that old location in Renton, sitting in your small office, and now you've got the best gym around, and you got this fancy studio you're sitting in now, and things have definitely progressed.
Man, they have, and it's like, well, listen, this is what's the cool thing about it too. When you said it, I was like, man, it has been that long. That's kind of crazy. But you mentioned that I asked Andy before he kicked out, but I said how long he's at a gym, and it's like a total. So he's been in this location for, do you say 12 in this one?
12 in this location,
12, but 22 years total. So
yep.
I'm 17, he's 22. Like we're about to be at 4 decades in the gym business. It's a long time. And what I wanted to talk about today, which I think is going to be a huge value for any coach and anybody that wants to open a gym, is building the coaching gym of the future. So essentially, we said, why don't we like dive into like what that would look like? And look, in full transparency, it's going to include, if we were going to create a recipe book for it, and we're going to put ingredients into a pot, and create this ultimate recipe. A lot of them are going to be a combination of what me and Andy are doing, and some of the things that we're looking to do, meaning like we're going to put them into our business, or we're working on right now and instill them in the business. So we want to kind of give you the whole behind the scenes and what that will and would look like. And also, the thing is we have a lot of things in common in our business. I was just going to say that, like, Andy started building his gym more in the sports performance space, youth athletics, really, really great job with that. Added general population. Now it's probably, more of the members than the athletics. And it kind of went the other way around, but we're in a similar space. And, again, we're every time we have a conversation, we're like looking at the next 10 years, right? It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, we're building to sell, or, it's like, we love what we do. We're always looking how to evolve and make it the best in the industry. And so with that said, because we're going to riff on this is going to be a deep dive, a conversation. But I wanted to ask you from that standpoint, as we kind of look forward, let's start breaking down some ingredients of that coaching gym of the future. Now, and again, this can be everything from the offerings, the type of things that your memberships actually offer, to we'll dive down into the training systems. We'll dive into actual operating systems. I definitely want to grow you on. You do such a great job. It's actually something that, I've learned a lot from the EOS system, traction, and using traction inside of your gym business, because you've, I would say, adjusted it to the gym business. And so we'll dive there too. But where would you start when you're like, all right, moving, if you're going to build the gym of the future? By the way, here's how we're going to do this, right? If you're like, well, but I don't have hundreds of thousands or $1 million to build a gym of the future. No, we're talking about to coaches. Like, we're talking to coaches that, like, if you got 1,000 square foot spot or a 1,500 square foot spot, you would do this. And there's just going to be elements that you would add on as you grow and develop your business, right? So that's an important factor, because we both came through, working in big box gyms, working or in leased out spaces, to getting our own small spots, to then building our small spots to bigger spots. So, it's not one of those things where we got a whole chunk of money and we just open up a gym. It was actually from absolutely, I would have loved to drop the started from the bottom. Now we're here in the background song. but that's the name of the game. So that's how we're going to break it down. But where would you start when we start having this conversation?
Well, I think where everybody should start, and it's what you said initially, is like the coaching gym of the future. And what I've noticed now, because I've been doing the consulting thing now for about 5 or 6 years, is one of the missing ingredients for a lot of people is the fact that, quite frankly, I'm not sure that they know that they are really a good coach. And I think when you lack the certainty that you're a really good coach, that impacts your ability to go out and acquire business and to build relationships. And so I think that is the absolute number one thing. And I don't want to skip over it, because I think in our world now, there's a lot of talk about, making a certain amount of money, and looking at this through the lens of sales and marketing. And this is probably the first time ever that a trainer, when they log on to social media, is getting bombarded with equal information, training and business. And I think I had the luxury of being relatively ignorant to all the things that were out there for business. So I was able to streamline my focus into being a good coach. And there was a very clear path to that for me. And the confidence that I gained doing that allowed me to overcome a lot of things I didn't know about business. So I think that's the number one thing that I think everybody needs. And then the second thing is a clear picture of what you want and knowing why you want it. I think a lot of people these days, they say they want a gym, but they're not so sure why. I always say, like, the reason I wanted a gym is, like, I had very few other options. It was like, it was a survival thing for me. So that helped spur me along through tough times. Whereas I think, a lot of people now getting into the gym business, a lot of them are getting into it because they believe it's significant. And this is, you can become very significant in the gym business, but this is a really hard business to try to find your significance through. And you know what I mean? I would suggest that if you focus on becoming a great coach first, you can leverage the power of significance and certainty, and then stack skills on top of that. And from there, I do think, like, business operations, business financial management, like, all those things certainly come into play. But you are selling training, and you should probably make sure that you are really, really good at that part before you dive too deep in the business side of things.
Man, there's a lot to unpack here. That's great, because I want to touch on a couple of points here. We did say the coaching, right? The future of the coaching gym. And, I remember when we met and we were already doing, we were teaching and through the Pack Fitness business stuff. And I know that you even were like, hey man, here's a lot of stuff that I haven't dove into. Right. Yep. But you were already successful in a sense of, like, man, you had packed schedule, you're making money, because the actual skill that people reached out to you for, you were great at that. So I really do think, and I had a couple of great conversations in this last week. One of them was with Jason Brown, and we were talking about online, but it will come back to the same thing. It really will. Yep. And the conversation was, that what you're seeing with a lot of online coaches now is that they don't have the certainty, because they don't have the hours and experience of, writing great programs, great coaching, and getting consistent results so that they keep people for a long period of time. So you're having this massive turnover. And, I'm not going to say, like, where all the data is coming from, because we were having conversations of, basically in different groups where people are doing a good job with sales, but they just can't maintain people because they're not a confident coach. They don't have certainty because they don't have the reps, and not only the reps, but it's like, back in where I would say Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo were in the apprentice phases, and in the Talent Code, right? The book, The Talent Code, it talks about where people would apprentice for like a decade, right? It's like you would work under a master for a decade, and maybe that's kind of extreme, but at the same time, we came up in a world where we were apprenticing essentially under masters. I know I can say I've got, a list longer than I could even share on here of people that helped me, that taught me, that I invested in, and it was training, right? It was just like, how do I become a great coach? And, it was that apprenticeship that led me to be really good, before I kind of went full blown into my own business and the gym and everything else. And today, I think that's kind of either skipped or significantly sped up, right? Because you're quickly being marketed to about, like, no, like, you can start making six figures real quick. All you got to do is know a little bit more than the person that you're coaching. And you're seeing this where, turnovers are speeding up, especially in the online space. But I personally also think, coaching a lot of people, you do as well. And in the brick and mortar space, I'm seeing the same issues, right? Because I'm like, man, one of the greatest ways to build a business is just keep your clients.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Keep your clients. And with, and so that has to be foundational. If and I believe that most people that are listening to the show, it's not somebody that goes and is an investor and is like, hey, I'm going to buy Orange Theory because the returns are XYZ. And, I'm kind of hands off. It's usually going to be like, I love this industry. I love helping people, but I want to build a career and a business out of this long-term, which kind of probably touches on the second part you talked about, which is the why. But I really do believe that, when you have a confidence of like, I don't know all these things really well, but man, I fucking know how to get people results and treat them right and have a great customer experience. If you get that down, you're already, I would say in many ways ahead of the game. I don't think it's everything, because that's where I wanted to move into, is these principles on the back end, right? So we got the craft, right? Being certain, confident in craft, because you got the skills, you built the skills up. Then you got the why. I 100% agree that, if you're going to go into gym business, as if you go in a restaurant business, it better not just be like, well, that's cool. It's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
It's got to be deeper than that. But once we get past that, like, what do you, now being a gym owner for 22 years, and I mean, that puts you straight up in like the 1% or 1%. What are some other things that have to be in that recipe, in that cauldron that we're mixing in to create that ultimate coaching gym of the future?
Yeah. So I think the next thing is, if you had asked me years ago, I probably would have said systems, and that would have meant, a lot of different things. Now I would say specifically a operating system. And that language does come from EOS, Traction, the entrepreneurial operating system. Well, I remember when I first started, building my business. Of course, ironically, one of the first programs I went through was eMyth Mastery. And I was actually at an old elite FTS event in Syracuse, New York. James Smith was speaking there, Joe DeFranco. And I actually got to sit down and eat with Dave Tate and Jim Windler. And in conversation, Dave shared with me how powerful the eMyth book was. And I told him I'd read it. And then he said, did you do the program? And I didn't know that there was a program. And there was a program called eMyth Mastery, where basically you build out your business and your systems. Well, that was really hard for me because I had no systems. I had no idea what I even needed to create, what I needed to measure. I mean, like, I knew training system, that made sense to me. I had heard sales system, marketing system, but like I didn't really understand it. And then furthermore, once I create these systems, like, what do I do with them? Well, I spent a year in that program. I built out a franchise prototype that was originally designed that I was going to try to sell to gyms, and it was all around personal training. However, the gym industry changed. All big box gyms started doing their own training instead of bringing in contractors. So that eMyth Mastery was a learning experience for me, that even if you have kind of a framework to dump stuff into, you got to know what to do with it. And when I read Traction first time years ago, the dots still did not connect for me, that this could be the thing that would link together all my systems and help me manage the people and systems inside of this. So the entrepreneurial operating system is something I knew about for a long time. There's probably 100 people listening to this that when I say Traction, they're like, yeah, I read the book. Or there's a difference in reading the book and putting it into use and application. And a friend of mine had worked with, a Traction implementer and coach, and he had hooked me up with him, and we did, some coaching together. And that was really valuable. And once we started installing basically just the basic tools of Traction, which were like a VTO, running a scorecard, making sure that we were having different types of meetings, this started to give my business like a backbone to build everything else off of. So if you've already got the craft down, if you know why you're doing this, I think the next thing is the entrepreneurial operating system. I love Traction. I'm sure there's other, stuff out there, but Traction is what's worked for me. And we have modified it to fit, specific aspects of our business. But that would be the next thing that I think people need. And if I can riff just a little bit more, just to add on top of this, is that I think the very next thing after that would be some type of financial management system. And again, like I advocate for profit first. That's one of the things that I strongly believe in. It's put our business in a very healthy position, and we go all in on profit first. And my decision to do that came from talking with Mark Fisher, where he was just like, do it, hire somebody and make it their thing. So a lot of people have read the book Profit First, like they've also read the book Traction, and they did nothing with it. And then furthermore, they came out with a Profit First for micro gyms, which ironically is written by John Billings, I use his CPA firm. And my Profit First professional is actually mentioned in that book. If you left, and I want, because there's somebody out there that's like me, so when I say this, I hope it resonates with them. If you left it up to me to move the money around in all the places, there's a very good chance that I would forget certain things. Okay. The Profit First system is the management of multiple bank accounts for various different things. Well, I can barely turn a computer on. So I recognized that was not in line with my skill set. So I pay this Profit First professional a good salary, and she does all of that for me because I understand my weaknesses in that area. And we have the capital to do that, right? Like I don't have to worry about bookkeeping fees and stuff like that anymore the way I did, when I first started my business. But that would be it, man. It'd be like the craft itself, knowing why you're doing this, having a business operating system, and then a financial management system to make sure that everything's running in a healthy way, and you got the money to move the business forward.
I'm going to actually come back to that because I want to get to some simple things that people can grasp, like for instance, the scoreboard and some meetings. Again, almost like zooming out a little bit, because here's the thing. I want a couple of things that anybody that's listening to this, that's like, well, we're not doing this, and they can take something from it and start implementing that's going to benefit the business and make it better. Because I'm sure, and even as you hear us speak, like we've had conversations where, I started reading everything Traction related a long time ago, meaning, the first time I read Traction, I don't know how many years it was. Then it was Rocket Fuel afterwards, which is, we'll probably give some resources there at the end. By the way, I mean, I'm literally sitting here, with a book called What the Heck is EOS? Which is for basically a complete guide for employees and companies running an EOS, right? So I bought every book there is around it. But so that we dive into some stuff that people can grasp, because we've both had, when you think that when this thing hits you, you read Profit First or you read Traction, that you're like, oh, okay, cool. Let me just go sit down for a weekend and we'll figure this out and we're good to go. It's not, I mean, it takes more than that.
Yeah.
Right. It's definitely a process to really instill this and make it work to the T. But it's so worth it. And, I know that we've talked every year about this stuff, and it's like, man, every year you're like, hey, it's better, but we can still make it better, but we can make it better. So I'm going to come back to that, because I think those two things are really extremely important. What I wanted to touch on, and you can piggyback on it, and because I'll kind of give you an alley-oop after this, is the model, right? So the model, look, I think that any person that said, like, one-on-one training is dead, and then there's people killing it one-on-one, large group training is dead, then there's people killing it large group. I don't think any of those are dead. What I believe the model, of the future is this. I think that if you had a small space, I literally this week just had a call with a coach that hired me just for like 3 hours to go over their model and what I changed and whatnot. And it has a small space. So they have 1,200 square feet. I said, look, I do two things. I do semi-private training, small group personal training, and very high ticket one-on-one, right? So exclusive, meaning high ticket, like it's not just that it's expensive and it's a bigger investment one-on-one, it's also what they get. Lab work, they're getting, if they have the capability of doing things like physical therapy, obviously nutrition coaching, possibly some supplementation that gets delivered to their door, so on and so forth. It's the Don Dada, because a small group personal training ranges, depending on the size of the space, anywhere from 8 to, we're doing 16. We're doing even more than 16 people, but that's a kind of nice little gap. And semi-private just makes sense. I mean, it's good for the coaches, it's good for the business. And if you start going bigger in your space, it's 2,500 square feet, 3,000 square feet, and you can plug in what we call team training, which is large group. And I'll dig a little bit later on what that is for us, because team training is, intervals, then it's density, but then we also have like this mobility rebound workout, right? Which is people just improve their mobility, and they're also kind of just getting recovery work in the aerobic zone. And then if it's almost, this is the plug and play model. And this is what I'll also hang it over to you, because we've had a lot of conversations about this. We may or may not be working on something in the future. And it's like, you could literally choose your own adventure, right? You got a small space, semi-private, small group 101, makes a lot of sense, right? Pick and choose. Cool. You got a larger space, adding in team training. Then youth athletics, right? And this is where I want to kind of throw it your way just a little bit, because I want you to touch on, you've done such a great job with this, developing an actual, you were one of the few people that actually was making a continuous revenue stream with youth athletics, because you have people come on board for a long term, right? Instead of having that roller coaster. And I actually want you to talk a little bit about this, because we're piecing this model together, and it's important for folks to understand how you run the youth athlete model, to see that you don't have these crazy drops in revenue like most sports performance facilities do.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I think I'll start there. I think one of the things that was really confusing to me when I was first started out was like, how would I always have the time and ability and know how to like do seasonal marketing to try to get people in the summer and get people in the spring and get people in. And I knew that there would be kind of these natural ebb and flows based on seasons. And I started looking at it, well, when football goes out of season, there'll be others that are in season, and we need to figure out how to help these programs. So what I went back to was my understanding of strength and conditioning, not business. So I was like, well, how can I make sure that I'm helping these people the most? Well, I said, well, I need at least 3 months with them if I'm going to help them at all. Like, we're not doing any month to month. Like, if you're an athlete and you're coming in the door, you're signing up with me for 3 months. And that could be looked at as like the seasonal thing, like the 3 months of the summer, 3 months of the fall. But what I really wanted from every athlete was to sign up for 12 months. So I made a decision that I'm only going to sell 12 months. I will downsell to 3 months if I need to, but with all of my integrity, I am going to ethically brainwash these people into why they need 12 months. And if you understand strength and conditioning and how long it takes to create certain adaptations, and if you have a program like ours that literally starts with kids at 7 years old and they could stay all the way in your program till 18, you have to build out a program that leads them in that direction. And for us, what we decided on is we were going to hang our hat on, if you're an off-season athlete, you come to us 3 days a week, unless it's impossible. Okay. And if you're an in-season athlete, you come to us 2 days a week, unless it's impossible. And if you sign up for our 12-month program, if you commit to 12 months, we will give you the ability to move your days up and down based on the logistics of your family and your coach and the things you're being asked to do. I don't know of anybody that was doing this at that time. There was no model that I had heard of like this. It just made sense to me because of my understanding of strength and conditioning. I didn't want to train a kid for 3 months and then not see him again until the next summer. So I started like really looking at the kids in our program who would come for 3 months versus the kids that would come for a year. And it was astounding how many of the kids that we had that signed up for over a year that ended up getting scholarships. And I can say like real numbers. We've helped well over 200 kids receive Division I scholarships. We've had over 10 kids that grew up in our program that play in professional sports in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and everywhere else. And I think a large part of their development, and that's not just for me, you could ask their coaches, their family, you could ask them, was their long-term commitment to what we do. So the first thing that I think, there's a lot of people that still promote the seasonal model for athletes. And I think until your program is busting at the seams, until you have enough reoccurring revenue and minimal slots in your annual program, I don't think you should go seasonal. I think you should focus on filling that strategically. And then if you want to pivot into more of a seasonal marketing strategy, that makes sense. However, I would still take open enrollment all year. And so outside of the strategy of what we believe in, selling people in 12-month contracts, I think one of the other things that we've done well is you look at the research on long-term athletic development, and there's these different maturation windows that children fit in. and they should be trained differently based on those maturation windows. So we started programs to address at least 3 of them. And there's a little bit of overlap there if you actually study this stuff, but we have programs for 7 to 11 and a half year olds, and then 11 and a half to about, or 12 to about 14, 14 and a half, and then 15 to 18. The first program is our development and fundamentals program for 7 to 11. The next is what we call acceleration. And what we tell people, it's accelerated learning for strength and conditioning for middle school aged athletes. And then we have our elite program, which is for high school. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the different service offerings that we have for different age athletes, and how we sell that program to prioritize reoccurring revenue all year and provide a program that I believe gives the athletes the best chance of getting the results they deserve, instead of assuming that because it's difficult to get Johnny to practice during the season, that we should just only sell a short-term membership.
Man, that is excellent. Like the couple of things that I love about this is, you said integrity based, because if you sat down absolutely any coach and said, hey, who's going to do better? This guy that's going to do off season and then just play the season and then come back the next off season, or this person that's going to do the off season and then come in even on, weeks that are crappy weeks, but they still make it in once a week, but most weeks to make it in twice a week. Who's going to be better after the year, or let alone 2 or 3 years? I mean, it's such a no-brainer that you'd be like, well, of course it's going to be the second one. Okay. Yep. Well, then why don't you create a program and a system that sells that? Right. And the answer is that the story is that it's harder.
Yes.
Well, the parents, and it probably is, right? I mean, that's why I wanted to bring this up, because it's unique, because we're talking about building the gym of the future. And it does become more stressful if you're like, imagine, you got your semi-private training, you got small group, you got your team training, maybe you do one-on-ones, and you got a marketing calendar where like, we're launching this. And it's like, oh, hold up. Football season, preseason training. Oh, we got to market this. Now it's baseball. Now it becomes a cluster, and it's much harder because you're gaining people, losing people, gaining people. And it's so many rotating, I would say, in and off seasons for different sports, that I think a lot of people end up just going like, not doing it.
Yep.
Right.
And before I want to say this too. One thing we realized is we had to educate our parents on why this is the right thing, because they're biased into doing things in the seasonal way too, right? Like we do this for a little bit, then we stop, and then we do this. They're not used to annual commitments. So like we had to really educate parents. And I didn't rely on like my understanding of persuasion and influence. Again, I relied on my understanding of strength and conditioning to use logical reasoning to talk through the obstacles in front of them and how our program would help. And a big part of that too is having a flexible schedule that can meet their needs throughout the year. But you're asking parents to do something that is different than the way they handle a lot of things. I think that requires, and again, I could be heavily biased towards my own skill set, but I believe that requires a sit down face-to-face meeting. Another thing that I've noticed about a lot of gyms these days, and sometimes for good reason, right? Like the owner is he's running the show by himself. He doesn't have time every day to sit down and do sales meetings. But like when I was by myself, I had 2 days a week, one on the weekend and one during the week, where I sat down and I did all my sales meetings. And because I came up through the gym business, selling gym memberships and like having to learn real sales, that's where my competency was. I felt like if I can get you in a room and I can find out what your problem is, I can articulate to you how what we're offering will solve that. But I have met some resistance from other gym owners about this idea of sitting down and selling people. And everybody kind of wants to do things from behind the safety of their computer. They want to market, and you have to do those things. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if my business would be where it was today if I didn't have the opportunity to sit down with so many parents. Because when you come into that meeting with me, one of 2 things is going to happen. You're going to sign up with us, or you're going to leave and you're like, yo, that guy's different. Like they're different than everybody in the market. Like they have an understanding of this stuff and was able to articulate to me how they were going to help me better than anybody else. So again, that, I think a lot of what we do, it works really well because it's based on the principles of strength and conditioning, and me having the courage to stick to that instead of selling easier solutions that might be more palatable for the market.
That's a great point, but like, because what we didn't say at the beginning is this is the easiest way to build the coaching gym of the future, right? But he said, no, this is the best, or I should say, this is the best format. And obviously to get to, just like, I love that you explained that, right? Because you kind of went through a process of like how you got to what you guys are doing today. It wasn't like overnight. It's the same thing. Obviously, small group personal training mastery is the course that I created based on, doing small groups for 14 years. The first 4 years of small groups, 5 years of small groups, is like, we were making money and revenue, and it was good, but it wasn't like scalable. It wasn't a model that was adjustable to any gym. It was, if we got an influx, it was a headache. It was, you'd look at the training and it'd be like, oh man, this is a little all over the place. We're getting it done, but right. And it's like, it was all those things that led to today, 14 years later, where I'm like, I just had a guy from the UK, from England, that came here. He was in Seattle and kind of shadowed for a couple of days, Ben, and he jumped into a small group, and he's like, he bought the course. So he's like, man, this is running like exactly to the T of what you explained. And we ended up having 18 people in that group. So he saw that there was a big group. And same thing. It's like you go through this process, you keep iterating as you do thousands and thousands of reps of it and keep making it better. But today I can drop that and go like, hey, I don't care if you got an 800 square foot gym or a 10,000 square foot gym, this is going to work. Right. And this is how it's going to work. Here's the system behind it. And so, to me, that's the cool part about like what we're having a conversation around here. When you talk to coaches and the coaches that you consult and coach and the tribe and the people that I coach in Yo Grow Your Gym, I mean, it's so wide and varied, right? Where it's like, we got folks that got a 12,000 square foot space, not very normal. Most of them are like 2,000 to 4,000 ish, right? And basically what ends up happening is like, oh man, it's almost like, this is what I like, and this is what I can include, right? It's like a Tetris. Semi-private, okay, cool, love it. Small group makes a lot of sense. I didn't do it, but let's plug it in. And then, you get folks that end up being like, you know what? Like, hey, we got like 8 to 10 athletes, but now understanding Andy's model and the system behind it, okay, like we can actually build this and continue to keep those clients, and it not have to be like effort, lose the client, effort, lose the client, right? It's developed over time, which is what I love. Now, before, because it's like I got these mental notes in my head of what we're going to come back to. So, because I want to talk about a couple of things. The combination of your and mine front end offers, because I think this is a really more important part of the business. So I'm going to actually have you share yours. I'll go to mine and a couple of things that I believe, because essentially what we're doing is on this actual podcast, we're building that model that we talked about. So I know there's a couple of things you do really well that you've started doing. I would say, when I say lately because you've had a gym for 22 years, but the front end, just for everybody listening, right? Like to not just be geeky. Front end offer just means, what is a way to get a person into your business? That's not a long-term membership commitment, so we have a 30-day results in advance program. We have some higher ticket stuff that's like 12 weeks long. There's even some, really short stuff that we'll do. We call it 3 VIP workouts. But you also, I wanted to touch on what you're doing with a lot of success with Strong 42 and 42, Shred 42.
Yep. So what we're doing really on the fitness side of things, we've got 3 offers that we're currently rotating right now. One is a free offer, and that's really like your coaches just kind of go to somebody and facilitate it, or early bring a friend week. Like we have a bring a friend week every month, and we pump it and promote it, but we tell our coaches at any point in time that they can ask one of their clients to bring a friend that week, and offer them a free week. It's just our way of, giving back to people that are already paying us money. And we'll market that, as well to our list. The other is our 21-day VIP. It's basically what we did. I'll go back. So we've got the free, then we got 21-day VIP, and then we've got our challenges. And we've created our challenge. We call it 42 Strong, which I can go into that a little bit, but it's really well built out. So our 21-day offer is basically just half of our 6-week challenge. All the deliverables and everything that we put a lot of work into, We just basically chopped it up, rebranded it, and made it for 21 days. The thought being, if we can get anybody on that type of program for 21 days, the level of accountability we provide, they're going to get results, and they're going to be more likely to sign up for a continuity-based membership after that. And 42 Strong has become our flagship transformation challenge. And man, I guess we've ran them in the past, but this is probably only the third year that we've ran them consistently. I was adamantly against challenges, and it was more so the offer that is so popular that everybody knows about, and it's the free challenge. And the free challenge, I didn't like the idea of the way that was positioned, because the success of the business is based on the failure of the client. You know, if the client doesn't lose 20 pounds, they don't get their money back. So the only way you make money is by them not losing the agreed upon weight. I just couldn't wrap my head around that. The other thing that was hard for me is when I'd studied nutrition and everything, especially behavior change. When you really study behavior change, you realize that it's a long process. It would be better to like help change somebody's behavior over 52 weeks. But if I sold a 52-week challenge, I'd be broke. Like, nobody's signing up for the 52-week challenge. They want results fast. And while I understand that is not always best, my job is to, bring people into a gym. So we started marketing these challenges, and we were very upfront with people. It's like, look, in 6 weeks, there's no way you're going to completely rewire things. But what I want to do is, like, I love the term, you always use this term, is like, I want to get you some results in advance. If we get you some quick results in 6 weeks, you'll believe that we can help you. And then we'll have a better chance of helping shift your behavior long term. So the more we thought, I started to be okay with this. And I was like, okay, well, if we do 6-week challenges, we do 4 of them out of the year. I got 24 weeks of any client that signed up with us where they're really, really locked in and dialed in. That's almost half their year. And I don't know about you, but most people, their experience is they'll do a challenge for 6 weeks. Well, week 7 and week 8, they don't completely just throw the towel in and go back to where they were on week 0, right? Usually there's kind of this after effect where people maintain this stuff for a couple weeks after. And then I can admit, as I think most coaches would, you definitely see attrition in their behaviors. But you're going to get maybe 8 weeks out of them really dialed in and focused. That's 32 weeks out of the year. And as I started putting that together in my head, I was like, man, this is the key. And then in between, what we need to do is provide, propaganda to influence them about flexible dieting and what flexible dieting is and what it is not. So we then started creating these seminars called Fat Loss Forever. And one of my coaches, myself and Maddie did the seminar together, but one of my coaches was like, man, it'd be a great idea to just build a community around this. And that way 42 Strong and Fat Loss Forever are essentially feeding each other. So that's how we've put together all of these. And it's been, it's worked incredibly well for us. And I'll say this one thing. Most people look at these challenges as huge acquisition strategies. I'm going to be honest with you, the whole self-paid acquisition thing or client financed acquisition that's really popular just didn't pay off for us really well. And we run good money to ads. And I'm just being honest, like, they've never performed for us the way I hear they perform for other people from outside clients. But what we started doing inside of this challenge is basically any of our members, we would give them an opportunity to refer a friend of theirs into the challenge, either for free or a discounted price. We've done that, and that's been our main way of, through these challenges, of adding new members, is giving people that are already spending money with us an opportunity to bring a friend in for either free or at a discounted rate. And that's helped tremendously build community inside of these challenges as a whole. And yeah, all that. I could keep
No. I love the
man.
share.
Yeah.
Look, I love the share, and I love the honesty, because look, this is really important, man. Like, it's really important to have conversations with people doing great things in this space, been around for a long time, and you get the real, right? Yeah. Meaning it's like, because I can tell you, like, we do run ads, and when we run them, they're pretty successful. But I've been telling folks, we just hired 2 part-time coaches, obviously working to get them full-time coaches, but and turning ads on now because I want to feed them some more leads. But the thing is like, we organically get so many leads, and I know it's a good problem, which I'll get to what I believe you must do to get to that good problem. And I think that's kind of like part of the framework of building that ultimate gym of the future is your marketing, which we'll get to, right? I wanted to talk front end offers because you got to have, you mentioned yours, which is whether it's a free week, 21 days or 42 days, right? But also you share like, this is what we're doing. This is what's not working as well, but here's what's working really well, right? And obviously it's working well enough for the business to continue growing after all this time and like hitting record numbers. So, I think it's important that, because I'm going to kind of talk once we get to the marketing part in a little bit, this, old school versus new school. That's how I look at it, right? It's like the boots on the ground, guerrilla marketing stuff versus, the newer, when you think about social media, you think about SEO, you think about the different content platforms. But it's, you do have to have, for people that are listening, it's like, you got to have a front end offer that works. So we're sharing the ones that like, I've ran a 30-day, we used to just call it a trial. Now we call it a 30-day results in advance program, which is much better. But I've ran that for, I think, 12 years. So it's like, it's been working for 12 years. What we changed is the name. We made it better and we made, we doubled the price, and it's like, it sells just the same. So,
Hey, let me say this real quick. I apologize for interrupting you, but I don't trust my brain. I've had too much head trauma.
No, please.
On the athlete side of things, I wanted to make one distinction. I never sell trials. Never. I'm lying. We do a speed camp twice a year that I would consider a short-term front-end offer, but it's for a very specific thing. It's speed only. But I never sell trials to athletes. There's probably been a handful of times where somebody was like, well, can we try it out? And I was probably like, yeah, sure. But generally, if somebody even hits me with that, can we try it out? It's like, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Based on the goals that you've told me, this isn't a try it out thing. Because what I hear when you tell me that is you want to assess how well little Johnny likes doing this program. And while I want little Johnny to like us too, I can't guarantee he will. What I can guarantee is that he's going to be coached well. We care about him and he's going to get results. So, I mean, I stay away from trials because, again, like, think about this. You give somebody a trial, and I understand adults, you might need to take a little bit of a different approach with. But when it comes to athletes, I'm pretty hardline on this. What is 1 week going to do for that kid? Not much, right? And he doesn't have any context of how this is supposed to go. Neither does mom and dad. So if we leave it up to how they feel about things, in my experience, that's not as good of a strategy. But if I have that meeting with them and I can logically explain to them why it's best for him to sign up, if there's enough social proof in the market, which we have that in our market, I don't think you need to sell people into trials when it comes to being an athlete. I think you sell them into a 12-month commitment if that kid is really serious. And if he's not, I think getting them to downsell to a 3-month is a pretty easy downsell, unless you have somebody that's incredibly misinformed on what it takes to improve their athleticism.
I mean, that's great context on your end because, look, it is different. Like, it is different selling to, I would say, youth athletes versus to, I would say, gen pop grown-ups. And another thing that I'd add, again, we'll get to this part when it comes to marketing again, is that you have the positioning and reputation. Yeah. Right. And again, like, we started with saying certainty in what you do and then building up those reps and that reputation through that. Because look, the reality is, even if you're around for 3 years, but those 3 years, man, like, you're treating your people great, you're keeping them, you're getting them great results, they have a great experience, people are going to talk. And then a lot of times you get folks that go like, hey, Andy's doing a great job with our kids. Hey, where your kids train? Oh, BCI, right? Vigor Ground. Like, that's how it happens. So this is, underlyingly, you have to understand these things. And that's why I love the nuance, because look, you might be thinking like, oh, cool, we'll do the same thing for the kids. No. Yep. It's not the same. And there's a reason for it. And that point was very, very good. They won't know. It's not like Susie coming in and going like, I don't like this culture fit, right? Yep. I don't like how I feel around, right? Versus a kid coming in. So that's a very, very great point. Now, this is actually a really good segue because, I mentioned that you have to have a front-end offer that works, because if it works, then you can spend money on advertising if that's the route you want to go. Now, where you spend it, like, look, we could Instagram, Facebook, you go Google AdWords, you go, push stuff locally towards a seminar, and you do boots on the ground marketing. But you can go like, hey, I know that when people get into this program, we're going to have success. We're going to have a high conversion. We're going to help people. That's an important factor. And a lot of coaches I speak to, it's like like the front end offer is an afterthought. Oh yeah, we give a free workout. It's like, how's that working? Like, have you tried something else? Have you analyzed what's going to work? Well, we keep the 30 days because it just continues to crush. Yep. Right. And then I'm just like, how do I keep improving it? And for anybody that's listening, our 30-day results in advanced program is $197. They get a ton of stuff with it. Semi-private training session every week, access to our small groups, access to our team training. They get a physical therapy. We call it injury and performance assessment. That's like a $199 value, boom, included into that. They get a 30-minute stretch session, like a PNF stretch session. They get nutrition coaching. Basically, what we break it down to is like, hey, you're here on a GPS point A. Where do you want to go point B? The 30 days, we're going to already lead you towards that point B, and it's risk-free. If you think that we suck, let us know. We'll give you your money back. No questions asked. I'll give you cash, Venmo, whatever is easiest. Right. And it's such an easy take the risk away, and we have a high conversion. And then it just starts becoming like, what else can we, plug in? Oh, $10 gift card for Fit Bar, so to get at least a couple smoothies and so on and so forth. Right. And so once you have that offer and you go, we know this is working well. That's, if you go to vigorgroundfitness.com, that's the main offer on the site. We're getting a lead per day, pretty much on average, almost through that site, through that offer. And, if we are to spend money, that's usually what we spend money on. So this is part of the ultimate model, is that like, that you have, for instance, Andy's like front end offer for athlete training is like, hey, I'm going to sit down with you and show you how we can get your kid results. That's it. But on the Gym Pop, there's 3 different front end offers, and like the Strong 42s, not on all the time. They have multiple times a year that they happen. For instance, every month there's the free week with the Bring a Friend, and the 21 probably has its own marketing schedule. So this is an important part. Now, what precedes that is, how do you market? And like, this is where I want to give you kind of the assist here on, when I said there's 2 ways, the old school and the new school. When we started doing the gym business, the new school didn't exist. There was no, Instagram. There was no Facebook. There was no, obviously there was Google to a degree, but you couldn't have done all the stuff that you do today. There was, email marketing existed I say back then, to some degree, but it was like also way more expensive. You couldn't build like landing pages you'd have to spend thousands of dollars to get, somebody to build out a website or a web page, even a one pager. Right. So we did a lot of let's just coin this as the old school stuff, boots on the ground, community things, going to talk to people. But I wanted to go into that realm because I actually think it's one of the most underutilized things for gym owners right now, because the eye is always on media and social and technology. And so what I've seen is people just not either stop doing it or don't put a lot of focus and energy into the boots on the ground stuff, and they're missing huge opportunities. So I wanted to assist you there first, what you guys are doing and have been doing that's been working. And then I'll dig into so if there's anything that, again, that you didn't share that we're doing, I'll plug it in so that we cover that old school part on the marketing side.
Well, I think all of it is kind of like the management of relationships that you have in the community. And that's probably going to ebb and flow based on your role in your business. When I was the person that was doing all of the work, I was very active in the community because I had to rent fields. I had to go to different schools. I just had tons of opportunity. And as I got to know people, they would introduce me to other people. Then eventually you kind of develop this idea of like, who are the most influential coaches in the community? And you've got coaches at schools, but you've got coaches with AAU and travel. Then you also have coaches in like pitching and hitting organizations. And being intentional about creating relationships with all of those people has been what's worked for me. And I know there's a lot of people that kind of shit on the idea of free work these days, like we should never do free work. Well, my entire athlete business was built on free work, because when I started doing it, it wasn't even a thing. Like there was no real athlete training in 2000. And I wanted people to believe in me and trust me. So I would just give away my time. And we still tell teams all the time, say, look, we'll come warm your team up. We'll help you install a warm up. We'll help with arm care, core training. We do program installs for different teams, which is kind of a front end offer, hoping that then they'll send their kids to us. And that just further deepens your connections in the community. So I think being intentional about it, identifying, we call it create your hit list, like create a hit list of the most influential people in your community, put them in a Rolodex and reach out to them regularly. One of the great books is that Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi.
Yep.
And he talks about like how intentional Bill Clinton was with that, with his Rolodex. And that always stuck with me. So it's something that's always top of mind. And now that, like, you know, there were some years where I was less active in the community because I was in the gym all day, every day. But we're at a point now where I'm pretty much operationally irrelevant, and I'm starting to get back more into the community. And I have a 9-year-old daughter. It gives me a lot of opportunity to do that too. So that's the overarching things. Like, you have to be present in the community, and you have to know who the most influential people are, coaches, teams, athletes, and get around them. And kind of the last part of that is something that I've talked a lot about, is what I call the cool kids lunch table. You know, I used to hear about great athletes in our community. Oh man, you got to hear about this kid. Like, I'll give you like one example is this Reggie Ragland, Super Bowl champion for the Chiefs. He was one of the best linebackers at Alabama. Well, I'd been hearing about Reggie at 11 years old. Like, there were stories of him 11, 12 years old, windmill dunking and flip-flops. Like, I remember hearing that. I was like, oh, I got to get around this kid. So I started asking people like, hey, anybody know this kid? Well, next thing you know, through a couple people, I got introduced to him and his family. And I said, hey man, like, I want to help you. That's it. No strings attached, no nothing. I want to help you. Well, when I started training Reggie, all of a sudden other athletes who are great athletes started hearing about it. And good athletes are like the cool kids lunch table, right? They all know each other. And next thing you know, the word started to spread. So, I mean, I literally have pictures of like workouts where it's like 10 kids in a group in high school. When like Reggie was in high school, like 8 of them are in the NFL now. And it was all because of focusing on helping, really serving that one kid. This wasn't a marketing strategy in my head. This is me looking back in hindsight of what actually worked. It was me wanting to serve and help a kid to prove that I had the goods. And then I also needed experience working with high level athletes. Like, I had very few experiences. I had a handful, but nothing like I have now. And I wanted to try different things on him. And, my relationship with him, Jordan Matthews, Trey Flowers, Chester Rogers, kind of all these initial guys that came through my program, like, everybody knows those kids in our community, everybody. And now these are all NFL guys. So when a kid was about to go to the NBA, Kyra Lewis, like, they found me because I had already trained the other elite people in my community. So I think finding out who those people are and getting around them and serving them is another kind of forgotten strategy, because I think people are so focused on, digital marketing and maybe rightfully so, but I think the old stuff still has a ton of value.
No, I actually, because I don't want to discount the media side of it. I really don't, because I'm such a huge believer in it. I actually, believe that part of like becoming this ultimate gym of the future is becoming a media company as well. That's my belief. And that's kind of the route that I went. And I think it's been very, very successful and valuable in that sense. But I've not stopped doing. So what you're talking about and what I'm going to do, because that's excellent. I mean, like, literally right there, you got the blueprint. But it started with, Andy saying like, look, you can't go into these situations going, well, I'm not doing this shit for free. It's like, what? Cool. Huh? Like, I legitimately still to this day. And like, seriously, I don't want this to become anything like arrogant, because I go and speak for pretty good like fees when I go speak on big stages. But like, for instance, this is my second year working with Bellevue, and I promise you, like, it's pretty much like I get paid some money, but it's like, it's pretty much for free. Okay. Right. That's literally what it is. Okay. And it's a good chunk of time, in the off season, I'm doing 3 days a week, in season 2, but then I'm also at games a lot of times. It's a huge commitment, right? So again, and you could say like, well, but in my phase of, my career, you'll never do that. I'm still doing stuff for free. I still do a ton of philanthropy work, going out to events. Like actually some of the stuff I'm doing now is like doing charity events for other organizations or groups to bring money in for them. So we'll even go to their space, right? Like, and again, because what you're doing is getting your foot in the community, building these relationships, building value, not asking for anything, because it opens up the doors for a lot of stuff down the line. Now, Andy shared a lot of, especially in the athlete space, a really, really smart approach, again, with integrity of how you can build this long-term. I did this and continue to do this. Actually, this is one of the things that I coach my coaches. I've coached my coaches and say, listen, if you build a relationship with some of the top realtors in the area, or somebody has a restaurant but is very well known, has been around for a long time, I'm like, I'll never get pissed at you if you have a conversation and you go like, hey, listen, and they say something about, oh, you know what, I really got to get in the gym. And one of my coaches says, hey, you know what, Ben, like, I'll take you on as a human billboard project for the next 12 weeks. I'll take care of it. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. Like, I'll coach you. The only thing that I ask is like, hey, when I help you get your results, that you share it. I can use it as a testimonial, tell other people about it. And it's like, if they came back and said, hey, Luka, you're going to pay me the rates to coach this influential person in our area, I'm like, great job. Right. And for example, I got a new kid on, one of the new kids that I talked to like yesterday, and we're sending him leads and everything, but he's like, man, I want to get as much as possible. I said, okay, cool. All right, let's step outside. What's over there? Bragg. Okay, Bragg Hair Salon. Great. What's over there? Whistle Stop Ale House. What about there? Red House. Cool. So it's like within eyesight distance, look at all these business. Like there's literally 18 I can spot from the front door of Vigor. Okay. Now they all know what Vigor is. Like we've been around for a long time. So go introduce yourself. But like literally going like, hey, I'm a new coach at Vigor Ground. Just wanted to introduce myself. A lot of people go here. I know that they love your services. But here's the thing. I'm not fully booked yet. So I'd love to help. Like, I'd love to coach you for 2 weeks and get you as much value as possible, create a blueprint for your transformation. And, while I'm still not booked, let me know if it's something you want to take advantage of. And if you do that with like 20 people, like 4 to 5 are going to be like, oh, I'd love that. Right. Yeah. Or even if you say for 30, hey, you know what? I want to pay for your 30-day results in advance program. And I just want to show you what we do. No strings attached. You don't have to do anything. I'm still not fully booked, and I really want to take advantage of this and meet people in my community, show the value. And it's a numbers game. Now, let's say they go like, hey, right now I just don't have the time. No problem. Hey, thanks. Really nice to meet you. Do you have any cards so we can give, I can give them to my members that want to get their hair done? Like it really is a connection relationship game. And then what you do is you track all those people and you go check in on them every 2 weeks. Just be like, hey, Mary, how you doing? Like, great to see you. Everything good? And you don't pitch anything. But now all of a sudden, 2-3 months in, you've talked to 100 small business owners, to some of their, if you're talking to somebody in the salon, somebody goes like, you know what? Like, actually, I need a transformation. Oh, you know what? Awesome. Here, what's your number? Yeah. Like, let's get you in for a couple of sessions. That's the game. It's like, that's the game. That's literally some of the way that I built my business. But no, as people are afraid of doing that, right? Because it's easier for me to get on here, on the phone, like punch it out. I don't have to actually lean into my discomfort. But if you did that for like 90 days, okay, and you were like, hey, twice a week, I'm going to go around for an hour and meet people, get them coffee, again, offer them this kind of human billboard program, and literally coming from a standpoint of like, hey, you know what? I've got a bunch of clients, but I still got some open spots. Like, I'm really motivated to help people, and I want to prove that, like, why Vigor has become the #1 transformation place in this area. You're going to have a lot of folks that are going to take you up on it, right? And that's all you need. All you need is somebody to step foot in the door. And then, of course, what does it come down to? Great coaching, great customer experience, right? Connecting that to that person. But it's like, it's not as hard. It's simple. I should say it's simple. Yes, it is hard because other people won't do it. Like, it's uncomfortable. I mean, it's shit. If it was easy, anybody would do it. And that's the old school stuff, and then including, I have this strategy called 6x6 strategy. I talk about it a lot. Have 6 conversations per day. That's 36 per week. That's 144 a month. it'll blow your mind. Like if you do that, like you'll get 10, 15 leads per month just doing that.
You know,
And
one thing I feel like I should mention really quick is there is somebody listening to this that tried it. They were like, I already tried that. You know, I went to all the local businesses and I gave them free training and they still didn't sign up with me. And I think sometimes we skip this, but this kind of brings us back full circle to what we started this conversation off with. When you first started out, you probably weren't very good. So if you're a new trainer and a new business owner and these strategies aren't working for you, maybe it's not that you got bad leads. Maybe it's that you just aren't good enough yet. And I know that's not what people want to hear. Like they don't want to hear that. It's like, just give me the tactic, give me the strategy. But man, I've done this for so long. If you had talked to me 10 years ago, I would have told you email marketing doesn't work. That's because I had a list of like 5 people and the ability to write an email that was on par with a third grader. Okay. Well, now 10 years later, I've got a pretty good list and I can spell a couple words and our email marketing works way better. So if somebody's listening to this and you're like, yeah, man, I tried that. It's like, okay, well, how good were you then? And how much better are you now? And if you're not significantly better, back to work, Junior. You got work to do. But if you are significantly better, that strategy will probably pay off more now than it did before.
100%. And I mean, and it's like, the thing about it is, you know, is you got to get the reps in. It's a communication thing, right? Like when you do it for the first time, and I'll take, you know, one of my coaches, for example, he's got to, you know, it's like a tough time. I mean, I get on stage with 1,000 people because I've done, I don't know how many speaking engagements and being in front of camera. I sucked at the beginning, right? Yeah. You're going to go in and have these conversations and it's going to be icky and you probably won't be smooth and you won't be like, you know, you won't be a charmer, but that's how you get there. Right. And the thing is, practicing getting there is what gets you the advantage, because now, you know, because the other day he's like, man, how do you do that? Right. And I'm like, well, I do it because I've done it so much and I practiced it so much. It was deliberate. Right. So you can't, you know, this is not one of those things where we're giving you a checklist and you read off the checklist and you're like, okay, write a great article. Well, you got to develop the skills to write a great article.
Yes.
Right? You know, it's like, just write emails. Okay. You got to develop the skills of writing emails, but the thing is, you do have to start. And you can study it from the greats. You know, you go Ben Settle and Andre Chaperon and Paul Moore, and you go like, how are they writing? Oh shit, let me just write the same way, but with my own words. It's already better, right? It's already better. It's not, you know, the best in the world, but it's already better. And like, that's why to me, it's like the, you know, podcasts like this, you listen to it, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that's going to, I mean, like, you know, even tactically, we've already shared a lot of things, right? But the kicker is now you got to go do it.
Yep.
And now and the thing is, not like once, do it a lot of times, right? And you'll get better through, again, failure is a lesson, and go like, oh, what can I do better? And then one person says yes, and then you learn from that, right? People say no, and you follow up and you learn from that. And that's the game. I mean, like, look, the thing is that the more that you do it, the faster your feedback loop is. And that, I think that's part of also the power of being in mentorships, being in masterminds, having coaches, right? Because not only are they sharing with you like what works, what doesn't work, they can give you feedback. And now you have a faster feedback loop. It's not like you're doing something dumb over and over and over again, getting good at dumb stuff, right? You get it's like, hey, try this, you know, try it this way, try it this way. Boom, feedback loop is faster. You get better. Now, you know, just like the results in advance that you do in your gym, that I do in my gym, that sells people to like do the long term. It's like, wow, these guys know what they're doing. They're helping us. It's the same thing in marketing. Right? You go and speak to 12 people and 2 say yes. And you're like, damn, this actually works. Right now you got 10 no's or 10 maybe laters, but the 2 yeses give you what do they give you? They give you, this works. Let me get another 12. Let me get another 30. Right? And so that's why this is important. And it's, you know what, I think like Hormozy posted this yesterday. I always make this point because he said, you know, when I had a gym, a lot of time, like a long time ago, one of my mentors said, hey, put these flyers out with this offer. It was a front end offer. And I did, you know, and I came back and like, you know, 20, 30 days later, it's like no leads. He was like, well, how many did you put out? He said 300. He's like, dude, we don't even do anything under 5,000. And then we scale to 5,000 per day.
Right.
And you know, and he was like, it's not that you're not doing the thing. You're just not doing what's required. You're not doing enough of it. Right. So I'm sure that when people talk to you, it's like, well, yeah, I did that thing. How much of it did you do? Right? It's like,
Yeah.
I ran Facebook ads for $50. Oh, okay. No, like run it for 1,000 for the next 2-3 weeks. And it'll probably give you some money back, but you also learn, and I could give a lot of different examples. Like, well, I called the school to like design their warm up. How many schools you call? Like 5. How many times? Once. Right? It's like, it's not enough. It's not what's required. It has to be more. Just like at the beginning, we said, hey, how many people you coach? Well, 10, and it's like, no, I've coached hundreds, and like, I'm going and coaching for free to get my reps in, to get my experience in. And that is what changes the game. And so, again, there's so much stuff here, which this is definitely a ... because I know it's going to lead us to another podcast episode. We'll have to, but I did want to, when we said old school, I wanted to ask you on the new school part of it. So you mentioned emails, which I want you to just touch on, but then anything else that you're doing, whether it's social, whether it's podcast, whether it's email. I have a lot of thoughts around this, but I wanted to start with you kind of breaking down what you're doing for the gym.
So, where do I start? So we run paid ads. We run them usually strategically for other promotions, like 42 Strong, 21 Day VIP. So we're running ads. We have an agency that we license some software through them, but we handle our ads. The other thing that really, really helps me, and maybe somebody listening to this is like me. There's somebody out there that hates social media as much as me, but knows they need to do it just like I did. So what I did not have time or ability to do was like, go find me a video guy, park them in the gym all day and, catch film. And I didn't have the ability to like really educate somebody completely on like the art of copywriting. So I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 3 to 4 photo shoots a year. During these photo shoots, we are going to have this person come in and get us about 200 images per photo shoot that we can use. Those images will be used every day for social media. And the copy attached to them will be about 3 to 4 sentences long. And there will always be some call to action associated with them based on whatever we're marketing. We had the idea to further segment that more to where there's like a colored frame around the ones for athletes. There's one for adults. And I have one person that runs this and they get a nice little bonus for it. And there's a certain amount of videos and things they have to capture as well. So we have a certain amount of videos we release a week, a certain amount of pictures a week, a certain amount of stories, and then we syndicate everything. So we don't try to make different posts on Facebook. We take whatever we put on Instagram, it gets repurposed on Facebook, it gets repurposed on Google My Business, and we and usually repurposed into our private Facebook groups as well, just to keep kind of the flow of information going back and forth. And those have been the most beneficial things for us, is like having a social media strategy that allows me to focus on what I'm good at, doesn't take away too much of a team member's time. It's always linking people back to what we've got going on. Email marketing, we're like, I'm up to 5 to 6 emails a week now. I used to be like a 1 to 2 email a week guy, but now that I've gotten better, I email a whole lot more. And then the third thing that I wanted to share is, what is that Jay Abraham book, like getting everything out of everything
out what you got.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But that comes to mind with this last one. Is like anybody that's been doing this for a while, all those bad leads you say you got on Facebook, because like you talk, it's like, oh, I got nothing but bad leads. Well, those bad leads have email addresses and phone numbers, at least they should. And you probably have hundreds of unconverted leads from over the past couple of years. And when I realized marketing on Facebook may not have been the best thing during like an election cycle, we started figuring out like, hey, what else can we do? And we just started digging through the crates, man, digging through the old email addresses and phone numbers we had and calling people. And we had every coach on our team. We gave them a minimum amount of calls they have to make a week. And that has been incredibly powerful for us. So we're either reactivating old alumni members or we're reactivating dead leads who may now be interested in a current offer, but they were not interested previously.
Man, I mean, the thing is, that could be a whole nother conversation, because and I do want to throw this in there because this is so important. And it kind of piggybacks on that example, the flyers that was saying, but like, most people are not happy with, getting enough leads, or at least they think they don't have enough leads, or their conversion, or whatever else it may be. But the truth is, instead of doing something new, they need to do more of something, and they need to do it better. And you brought up follow-up, and I'll say follow-up, even something that right now, we're diving in on doing significantly better, because if you think that you're doing it pretty good, I guarantee you're like a 3 to 4 out of 10.
Yep.
And I'll raise my hand. Like I thought that we were good, and we're probably like a 5 out of 10. And I went back and looked at, through our website, where again, the main offer, if somebody goes on our website, they'll click and we'll get an email that says Vigor Trial, right? So that's the form that they fill out. Since January of 2022, so we're looking over a little bit over a year and a half, we have 700 trials. Let me tell you something. How many of those 700 are here? Right?
Yeah.
Now, the kicker is that we followed up, but you don't follow up enough, not long enough, and not on every, on every avenue. Like what I've started doing now too is like, if we can find them on social media, so it's like call, leave a voicemail. If they don't pick up, send an email, text, find on social media, message them there too. And the thing is like, and then keeping a track, whether it's old school Excel or you're going through a CRM system or something like that, which I obviously highly advise, but that you like, imagine this. Let me just, from my business, out of the last year and a half, so out of those 700, if we could get 10% of those people here, that's hitting my net goal for the year of new members.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's bananas. I don't need any new leads. So this is why it's such an important point for you to bring up. I know we're talking about kind of marketing on platforms. But again, I don't want you to escape the fact that like, and this will sound harsh. And by the way, this is a hard thing for me. And I'm sure for Andy too, where you look at some stuff and like, oh shit, like, we want to be an 8 or 9 out of 10 on this at least, but we're really a 4 or a 5, or, you know what I mean? And so you got to do more of it, and you got to get better. Like the emails. One thing that Andy, I hope you didn't miss it, he said, now I'm up to 5 to 6 days a week now, right? And used to be 1 day a week. But for example, emails are one of these things where if you email once a week and you have no call to action, you're not going to get leads. If you add a PS, Dean Jackson super signature at the bottom with a call to action, now you're going to get some leads from that email. But now if you do 2 emails a week, that's 4 more opportunities per month for leads. If you do 3 emails per week, now that's 8 more opportunities per month, right? So that's the more and better, right? Better emails, do it more frequently. Boom, your lead generation from email goes up.
And hold on, one of the things that by doing that and getting better at, like, I'll give you an example. So I shared this with my team. The quality of information that you put into Instagram posts alone, right? I guarantee you there's a large part of your followers that whether you pop up in their feed or not, they go look to read your posts because you really focus on delivering value. The thing that I've noticed with email marketing is people market. They don't provide value. Or they don't take a lot of time and think about like, what message does the consumer need to hear? It's like they just write some quick stuff and, oh, here, give me money, right? Just some type of offer instead of writing emails and posts and really delivering value. We don't deliver value, quite frankly, on social media. We don't put a lot on. We're there. You can find us. There's always calls to action. Like, we're relevant, but where we try to provide value now is through email, and then, various other ways.
But this is a great point, because the whole idea of the media company, and let me kind of zoom out, like why I think this is important. Like we both at the beginning built our businesses off of like those 3 C's that I believe in, right? Coaching, customer experience, culture, getting referrals, word of mouth, starting to be good at some aspects of marketing, right? But if I'm looking at the long game, right, and one of the next questions that I'm going to get to is like other revenue streams for your business, because I think this is important and kind of like building the gym of the future. Yep. But the main point is this, right? Our Facebook, the gym Facebook page is it's getting close to 300,000 probably within the next month. We'll be at 300,000. It's an insanely engaged audience. Let's just, more so than pages with millions of followers. And the reason why is consistency, consistency, frequency, and then just always delivering value. That's it, right? Same thing as you said with the emails, same thing with Instagram, same thing with YouTube. And again, fill in the blank of what medium you're providing and think of what's best for the gym. I think for the gym, definitely Facebook is important. I think Instagram is important. A podcast and YouTube, I think YouTube is a long game. Email marketing, 100%, very, very important. I think podcasts can be useful, but I wouldn't make that one of the first mediums. I think Google is very, very important.
Google My Business.
Google My Business is now more powerful than SEO, but I also think SEO is extremely important. And I'll touch on that as well. So whatever medium you choose. And again, if I had to start from scratch, I would go Facebook, I would go Instagram, I would go email, and I would go blog and article writing / SEO, which is all kind of that Google package, right? And now, if I did, again, this is not touching on brick and mortar, because brick and mortar, I'd be doing workshops and seminars live, which I used to and still do. It's just that now we record them or live stream them because we have the technology, right? But the point of it is that, like, look, this is the simple formula. Great content, right? That's useful and valuable. And again, usually you have to be somewhat entertaining and charismatic. So this is important because if I'm standing here giving you a great information, but I'm like, Andy, you should go and do, you'd be like, fuck, I'm not going to listen to this. So it has to be useful value. It has to be entertaining to a degree. That gets eyeballs. Okay. Eyeballs equals audience. Audience equals ability to make offers, right? We talked about front-end offers. So now I got an offer that should, obviously, if you talk to a specific audience, get them to do something. Whether, again, if you're a brick and mortar business, it's like, try us out in some way, right? If it's online, hey, similar thing, buy my course, buy my product, do X, Y, Z. But the thing is that to earn, let me say this again, to earn the ability to make an offer, you have to create a shit ton of value and build what I call relational equity. And relational equity can be built offline and it can be built online. And that's what we're talking about. Now, long-term, again, this is the long game. This is long game, right? Long-term, if you put yourself in a position where, and we're somewhat there, although I'm looking at the, another 10X, how we can do this, is that we're generating organic leads from places I don't even know where they're coming from sometimes, because there's so much eyeballs and so much value been put out in the space. And when we do run ads, we've tested this, by the way, compared to the market based off some friends that run my ads. And they're like, our leads are like 6, 7, 8 times cheaper because there's so much engagement in the audience. And so, if you look at yourself as a media company, and that's what I started doing, I'm like, hey, YouTube is like a TV, podcast is like radio, social media is same thing. It's like your mini TV channel, right? And your articles is your newspaper. And I went from, and I've written for a lot of big publications, from Men's Health to T Nation to bodybuilding.com to blah, 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 right? For Schwarzenegger's email list. And I'm going to keep doing that. But like, the thing is, I started going like, why? I'm going to write the best shit for my own site. And now I got some of the best writers in fitness starting to write for Vigor. And because guess what? Now we do an article. It's great. It's got a lot of time, energy put into it. People go there, they read it, they opt into our email list. They go like, holy shit, this is good, right? We're creating value. And then what happens is people are like, man, I love what this person is sharing about training and nutrition. At the bottom, they fill out the form. They want to work with us. So the principle is the same. It's like, give value, show to the person that you're the right person to help them, right? And get a lot of eyeballs on that, delivering value. And then you've earned the right to make an offer. And then you can make, the more value you put out, the more offers you can make. But
it might take multiple offers. Like you said, that relational equity, like you don't create that overnight. Like that takes time. No. We had a lady who, I guess she's been with us now for a year. Okay. So she actually came in on our challenge, 42 strong, did it with us, and then signed up for a year. Okay. For 4 years before this, she would come in once a year and sit down and talk to me about signing up at the gym. I joke with our staff. I'm like, I think she just likes to come talk to me once a year and she has no intention of signing up. And every time we'd have this great conversation, and I think she signed up, and she's like, well, I need to think about it more. And I literally got to the point where, like, when I saw her name each year, I'm like, yeah, she ain't signing up. Like it, but I went through the whole thing, and well, she finally came in and signed up for 42 Strong. And I said, hey, I'm not going to say her name in case she runs into this. Say, hey, I'm curious, what made you decide that this was finally like the time to do it? She was like, I just feel like I know you so well at this point. She was like, I'm really indecisive in like a lot of things in my life, but like I've gotten to know you through your emails and through coming in here and talking to you. And I just feel like this is the place for me. And I was just like, wow. And we talked about that in our staff meeting. Like, there are people that you have these like random conversations with online and on social media, or even at the grocery store in real life. And like it just takes a couple more exposures before they can see you as the person who can help them. So we have to be consistent and provide value, and that creates that relational equity that you talked about.
And this is where I'm going to geek out on some stats, because what you're saying feeds into this, right? I think it was Sabri Subi like showed this stat. They did a lot of research on this, but it was that, out of all the people, there's only about 3% of people that are ready to buy right now. And then there's about 17% of people that are searching, like they know they have a problem and they know they got to solve it. They want to solve it, but they're looking for the right person to solve it. Then there's basically, about 30% of people that are in this phase of, they know they have a problem, but they're not even in a searching phase yet. And then the rest don't even know they have a problem, right? The majority of people are just trying to market to the 3%. Hey, here's my thing. Here's my challenge. Here's my, buy this, buy this, buy this. So everybody's competing for that 3%. What we're talking about, emails, content on social, podcasts, long form YouTube videos, live workshops and seminars, they get recorded, and on and on and on, right? Articles. What that's doing, it's talking to that 17%, to that 32%. Sometimes even exposing those people that don't know they have the problem to the fact that they have a problem. So you're talking to the 97%. And those folks, it's just like the lady that you talked about. It might be 4 years. It might be a year. It might be, I know I talked to Ryan Stewart. Stewart said, listen, it takes people like 11 months before on our email list before they buy something, right? So they read an email for 11 months before they get it. So that's what you're doing. But what ends up happening is that now you consistently have a stream of people from those 17%, those 32%, and the rest that keep moving up that pyramid to become buyers because they've connected to you. And they're basically, it's just like a rapport thing. Like, man, I feel I know this person, and this person has got my best interest in mind. And yes, there's a million options, but this is the person I'm going to go with. And if you're not doing that and looking at the long game, how can you build this ultimate gym of the future? It's impossible. And, today we can do, the fact that you can have this phone and literally you don't need anybody from this phone, you can create a media company, right? That's fucking insane. So it's whether it's writing your emails, whether it's something else, like, I think that's a powerful thing. And obviously, this is something we won't touch on today is like, how do you organize and structure this into your day? Because folks will always be like, oh, dude, you're a content creator. I'm like, I still coach, 20 to 25 hours per week. I have 4 businesses that I run, and I'm still doing 3 posts per day. Now, yeah, just like we talked about the practice of getting effective at this stuff, I'm not spending all day on this. I batch just like you batch the photos. I'm batching once every week or once every 2 weeks. I shoot a whole lot of videos. And then every day in my training, when I train clients, I shoot a bunch of videos. So I always have a lot of content, right? But you get to that and you need to schedule it, and it needs to be part of something that matters. And again, I think most people are very productive and don't have an organized structure to their day. But again, like, look, we're creating like this blueprint, as much as we can in this call, because obviously as soon as we start talking about something, there's more things to talk about. But there's a couple more things I wanted to touch on. One for sure is, I know you guys are doing a good job with this. We're doing things a little bit of a different way, but I wanted to, touch on what are the other revenue streams that are complementary to your business and help clients out, but are generating money for you guys. Because I think this is an important factor, because there's stuff that we're doing and then there's stuff that we're about to do. And I think they're very valuable, but I wanted to get your input on this first, what you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, the two main things that we make money off of outside of training is gear and supplements. And those have become two big focuses for us, where we built them into the marketing calendar. We constantly promote them. I was a little weird about supplements for a long time. And everybody told me, well, your clients are buying supplements from somewhere. They might as well buy them from you. And I was like, whatever. I'm not a supplement store. But I realized that is kind of stupid. Right? People are going out and buying all types of ridiculous things. So we said, why don't we decide on what we believe in and what we stand on and what we can promote? And we first started by having all of our coaches take the supplements. We tried a couple different brands. We had them take the supplements, see what they liked, and then continue to take them and talk to their clients about it. And then we made a launch of the supplements that we were going to do. And now we've kind of got 2 or 3, actually, I guess 4 different brands that we kind of rotate and promote. There are things that we believe in. Okay. And it's very simple stuff. And then gear has become a big focus of ours too. I mean, we have shirts coming out almost every month. We've got fancy hats. I don't know if the video will be on for this or not, but and we've really gotten a culture of clients now that really love to buy our gear, from hoodies to tank tops to hats to everything. I've been really impressed with how well that's gone, as well as supplements. I mean, we've already hit what we did in an entire year now. We've hit the amount that we sold last year already this time year to date, which is just unbelievable to me. We've now got a culture of people that buy all their supplements from us on a regular basis. We got pretty good margins on those things too.
I mean, and I think that's an important part, is that if you believe, I'm the same way, where it's like, hey, nutrition is the most important, but yeah, look, you're deficient in these things, right? And it's like,
yep.
Washington State, vitamin D, but then you got magnesium and zinc, and you should probably get some greens in, a good multivitamin, and creatine, right? If depending on what their goal is, they're going to get it. So yep. What's the brand that you love, that you recommend, that you think is the best? And you can either wholesale it or you can do affiliate stuff. But because I know, for you guys, it's for multiple 5 figures per year from that, including the same thing, you put a focus on it, you promote it, it's part of your brand. Clothing can be multiple 5 figures per year as well. And, if you're making, that means multiple 5 figures in profits, right? And while you're helping the person, I think that's a really important thing. So again, that's a no-brainer, because it's like a low-hanging fruit, because it's right there. For us, I'm talking about what's happening now, and then also the future. Now, for me, because I think that eventually, if you own a gym, right, if you're going to be in it for the long game, I think it's the way to go is to own the building that you're in, right? Long game. And then having, we have tenants. So some of the stuff that Andy is talking about, we have a smoothie bar, acai bowls, we do supplements there. But then we're also I'm going pretty hardcore now because I'm a partner with Thorn. I love Thorn, and promoting them and having our margins there. But we have that in-house, physical therapy. Now, the thing is that physical therapy, I think, is the future of collaborating with coaching gyms. It's been so successful for High Def, who's inside of our gym. I mean, we have, when I say we, they, but we're kind of JVs, when they have 3 physical therapists, they do 140 sessions a week right now, and building it up. That's 70 to, so just as an idea, that's 70 to 80 different, clients per week coming in from physical therapy. And we're all working on converting that into some, I was saying, to some clients for Vigor, where I got some pretty cool ideas, and we just had a meeting about. But we're building a fire and ice. Literally, this week we start constructions coming in. So sauna, 2 cold plunges, a separate room for that. That's going to be a separate business. Then we're going to have an IV room where we'll do all the, Myers cocktails and I was some specific, I would say, whether it's B complex, glutathione, all that. And we'll have a doctor overseeing that, naturopath doctor overseeing that. And another thing that we're about to put in is still negotiating to finalize this, is a DexaFit business. So there's a guy that owns DexaFit Seattle, and they do DEXA scans, obviously most precise when it comes to lean body mass testing, but then they do VO2 max testing. So they have the computers You
Yeah.
put the mask on, how much, how using the oxygen at rest, anaerobic thresholds, VO2 max, all of that, which has been exploding especially since Peter Attia has exploded into the scene. And so we'll rent out a room and some space there and integrate. So this is an important part, right? Integration. I mentioned that when somebody comes in, they automatically get a PT assessment, right? Like then now we'll also have the IV, the cold plunges, the sauna, and I'm a partner with Merrick Labs where we're able to get like really comprehensive labs. I know you know that because you use them. I'm probably going to start using them too next year, meaning for personal purposes. I've just done all my labs and stuff, but it's like this, you have to think as a gym owner and go, what are the things that people are already doing? But if I can recommend the thing that I truly believe in and also make some profit for the company, because when I do labs, there's a nice margin. For them, it's cheaper than if they go to the lab. But going through me, it's like I get a margin, they get a 32-page report, they get all these benefits that they wouldn't go, and it's cheaper than to go to the lab, right? So win-win. Supplementation, same thing, right? Physical therapy, same thing. Fire and ice, same thing. So you have to think about how you can, because the gym of the future is like because this is the other thing that's really important, I believe, right? Is differentiating yourself. So the things that we're talking about, obviously, if you do them at the highest level, you're differentiating yourself. But it's very, very important to be able to, as all this stuff is developing and, the amount of people that are going like, hey, I want to know my VO2 max because it's the number one predictor of mortality. And you go like, actually, yeah, we got testing for that. And then we use Morpheus training and we can see exactly where HRV is. We can see all your zones that you're training in, and we can determine and help you with which zones to stay in so you can improve your longevity, so on and so forth, right? Like it's doing a service for the client. It's making more profit for the business. And it's, I would say it's kind of like positioning you as doing something that most people aren't doing. Now, what does it come back to? It's the first thing that Andy said. You got to know your shit, right? Like you gotta know your stuff. And so there's, because I know like we've gone through a lot, but there's two things that I want to touch on. One's going to connect to the first thing you said, which is like being great at your stuff. And so it's how do you develop your team? So it's going to be one, to be great at their stuff. And number two, I do want to finish off with some points on the operation side and just, literally being able to say, here's some things that, that we do that I think are really good. That somebody can take away from this call and actually start implementing it without knowing traction EOS in depth. But let's start with the education side. I want to hear your kind of thoughts on this first, and then I'll riff on what we do and why I believe it's so important.
Okay. So there's a couple things that we do. One is I've got a pretty extensive library of books, courses, and things like that. They have all access to that. And it's always been that way at BCI. But the other thing that we've started doing over the past couple of years is we're very intentional now where each coach gets to kind of self-select an education focus per quarter. So they will choose a subject, and then we will help plan out their education focus, which is usually going to be a series of books and courses or seminars. And their goal is throughout that quarter to get all that information digested. And then they have to turn it into a 10-page or 10-slide deck presentation. And they stand up in our trainer meeting and they present on what they learned throughout that quarter. As you know, and I mean, probably most people listening to this know, like just talking about what you learned further helps solidify it, but it also helps you work on that skill of speaking and connecting with people. Because a good trainer and a coach is working with groups of athletes and adults. Like you're a speaker, you're an orator, whether you know it or not. And just being able to stand up and communicate about what you've been educating yourself on is another opportunity to work on that skill. I'll pay for certifications. I'll pay for any educational interest, within reason. But we just have a culture of that. And then the last piece is my coaches know how into this stuff I am. Like they know. So one of the things that you can do to facilitate the learning of your coaches is be the example for how they should learn. And we tell everybody, even our interns, like, look, you're not going to get an internship here unless you're willing to read about 4 or 5 books in 3 months. So if you're not willing to read, you're not getting a job here. So we start that off early on, where we hammer into our coaches' heads like the importance of reading and studying, and not just getting your information through social media, because you're often left with some pretty big gaps in your knowledge and understanding if that's the way you do things.
Those are such great points. I love that approach, that they pick a topic and then dive into that topic and have to present on the topic, because it goes over the bullet points of how you learn well, right? And then be able to apply that. So, to piggyback on this, I think it's really important to have a successful gym. Like, there has to be a culture of learning and education and growth. I mean, right? You got to have people that are like, I want to be better at this craft. I want to keep growing. And it sounds such like a 101 thing, but the truth is a lot of places don't. They just don't, period. And one of the best things I've done, obviously going back to, like, I'm a geek and I'm obsessive about this stuff. So people see me always learning and studying. But now it's been 12, 13 years since we started first bringing people in. Between, if I count the summits, we've now had 130 world experts either do an in-staff, do a seminar certification at Vigor. This year we'll have 11 again. So I think that probably puts us number one in the country. And I'm not being opinionated here. I'm being pretty factual.
You are. I can say that. I know a lot of gyms. I don't know anybody that brings in the amount of people you do. And I will say that when I first started coming to your gym, I don't know, 13 years ago or whatever it was, when I first visited out there, I remember, what seminar was it? It was so this was like before everybody even knew like how big John Russin was. Like, it was like John Russin and Christian Thibodeau.
Yeah.
You had at your place. And I remember the two coaches that you had working for you at that time, they were sitting and they were studying. And I remember sitting in the back and going, man, what an advantage for these coaches to have this type of education coming to them. And because in the state of Alabama, we don't get a lot of education. That was one thing that I took, and I was like, I'm making sure I become that place in Alabama, because nobody else is going to do that. And we started getting very intentional about hosting seminars and certifications and things. So that is another thing that I did not think about, but I should mention. Our coaches benefit greatly from the people we bring in, and I think you set the bar in that area, in my opinion.
The thing is about that too. Look, I think it needs to be said, because we grew up in, if I wanted to go to an event and it's like, all right, it's $1,000 cert. Oh shit, but it's in it's in LA. Let's call us LA, right? Well, the flight's gonna be $300 to $400, 3 nights. 1,000 food, right? So now all of a sudden that's a $2,500 trip, and and time away and so on and so forth, right? Where to me it was a couple of things. One of the things that you said, I was like, there was not a lot of stuff happening in Seattle, so I was like, I want to be the hub for this, right? Because that's a positioning tool. And I was selfishly, I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn all this stuff, and I wanted to build relationships with these people that were great in these specific areas, and like learn from them and connect with them, and again, build a relationship. It was also positioning, but then it became like, coaches would be just off of not having to travel and pay for flights and hotels, save, 10 grand a year from the amount of events that we have. And then they save another 10 grand a year from the actual education that they get for free. And it's, we're talking about, hey, if you, I just have a real post that I said, hey, learning over earning in your in the beginning phases of your career, especially in the beginning phase of your career, because skill sets is what's going to get you paid down the line. And so now it's like, hey, listen, like, you can come coach here and you're going to learn. You're going to learn from me every day, but it's also like, you're going to learn from all these top people in the world. Literally, if you were here a coach this year, the whole year, you're having like more certs in 1 year than most coaches doing a 15-year career in 1 year. Right. And then next year, guess what? We already got like 7 scheduled now, like 7 for next year. So it's absurd. But the value of that is like, hey, you want to be here if you want to become elite, right? And not like, hey, how can I get the most dollars per hour? Which, by the way, it's very high here, but when you get busy, but it's the point of like development. And I think that, the type of gym that we're talking about is positioned as, because we started with like, you got to be great at your shit. And so it's like, and not only you, because if you build a business that's scalable, it's got to be like your people too, your team too. with that said, I did want to just, you've done such a great job with this. Just a little bit of a 10,000 foot view on some things that people can do on the operations side. You were talking about EOS, but for instance, I think that, and again, if you had to pick the three things that are like, here's three things that you can do and implement now that'll significantly improve the operation of your business, that that a 6-year-old can kind of understand.
Yeah. So two things. Let's see, what would be the two most important things? I'm going to go number one, scorecard. I'm still surprised how many people do not use a scorecard. And the very basic things that we track, or every week, and we track and report on leads, appointments, how many of those appointments showed up, whether they were sold, a sale, or a trial. We record our drops, and we record downgrades and upgrades. And every week we report on that. We have weekly goals based on monthly goals, based on quarterly goals, and it's all kind of broken out that way. And we report on them week by week, and that helps inform us, are we on track or off track relative to our goals? And then that further informs us on what strategies we might need to create to hit those numbers if our current efforts aren't making it so. And then the second thing, and I'm blown away how many people don't do this, it's a meeting. The amount of gyms that don't have a regular weekly staff meeting, there's probably more gyms that don't than do. And I will tell you, I used to run staff meetings where, like, whatever I was reading and studying, I would just stand up and talk about for an hour. It was like my selfish way of educating myself, calling it a staff meeting. Well, once we really got into EOS provides a great framework for what they call the level 10 meeting. And we run a level 10 meeting each week. And again, it used to be me kind of leading the show, but as the business has evolved, now I just kind of, I sit there and I lead and guide, but different team members have different roles in that meeting. Primarily the coach that I'm moving towards, our integrator role, probably is the biggest role out of everybody, but it's a collaborative effort. And if you read through the format of it, one of the things is the last part, the majority of the meeting should be what they call an IDS, the issue, discuss, and solve area. And this is where, I don't know about people listening to this. I'm sure you've had this where you notice, like, if you're in a gym all the time, you're always passing each other. Like, you can get caught up, like, every time you see each other talking about like a problem or a thing, or like, hey, we need to do this, or like that was a problem. And then your mind is not focused on coaching. So when you do a level 10 meeting, what you want to do is create this culture of everybody collecting issues. That way, in that meeting, everybody can talk about it and actually solve it. Okay. And then the third thing, this would be more for coaches who are a little bit more removed from coaching itself and have the ability to either create another meeting or support another staff member in doing so. But we have a training meeting now. And this, again, goes full circle back to this idea of being good at the craft. When I got far enough out of my business that I could just stand and watch, and I could just see what was going on. We have great coaches, but they've only been in the industry for a couple of years. And I think most of our coaches have been in the industry well over 5 at this point. So they're further along than the majority of coaches, but there's just still things they don't have experience with that I do. So in our Friday training meeting, I've started using that time to help button up our coaching pedigree, make sure that we really know how to coach this stuff. And because I had a non-linear path of education, and most of it was self-educated, it gives me an opportunity to pull things out of my mind that are important to them that I don't have in an organized, structured format. And quite frankly, I don't see a lot of certifications. Like, they don't teach you how to take in information about this person and modify it on the fly based on their daily readiness or new issues in their life. And so we get an opportunity to go deeper into client issues, from exercise selection to programming, and how we might actually address those things. That's my three.
Man, those are great points. Again, if you just implemented one of those, because that look, calls like this, right? It's episodes like this. You might be like, hopefully you're taking notes, but it's like, you can't just implement all of this stuff at once, right? There's stuff that probably jumped up at you and you're like, man, like that, like you'll have a gut feeling that might be important to you. Cool. Like implement it after this podcast, like period. But this is a progression, and again, I said, me and Andy been talking about this will be something that you'll be seeing more of us talking about in the future, which is, a system that is a training and a business system, like unlike anything you ever seen before, that is basically the gym of the future. And it has a roadmap from, hey, I'm a coach and I'll open up a gym and I want to get to the number one thing that's important when you open up a gym, which is not that it's big and cool and you got all this cool equipment, but it's actually to be cash flow positive. Like that's goal number one. And so you understand the actual business of owning a gym and coaching, right? And then all the back end, like with everything we talked about today, which is having a basically an EOS traction system on the back end that's is for gyms, a training system. I'm talking about like everything that we shared: team training, small group personal training, semi-private training, youth athletics, with actual training programs and structures and templates to marketing, sales, systems, fulfillment, customer service. We're talking about the whole shebang. So the reason, we're talking about this because we want to get more of this out so that there's more successful gym owners that have a long game in this industry, man. Because I feel like this industry is the best industry there is, but the turnover is still crazy. And, there's a lot of really, really good people that, if they can have the right operational system and the right guidance and right mentorship, can build something incredibly significant. And to be honest, today can, make, I would say, extremely good money if you do it the right way long-term. And you can see that there's a lot of avenues through that. So, man, I mean, time flies. Cause like, dude, I have like another 11 things that I wanted to cover with you.
I know.
But that's good though. That's good. Cause it's a ... and it leaves it open, for another call. By the way, like, listen, if you guys love this call, make sure you let us know. Make sure you let us know, because we'll do a part 2. I actually got a bunch of notes that I was writing down while Andy was speaking to, for more questions to go more in depth into certain things. And listen, as always, if you love the show, share the show, leave a review. That's so important. But I want to make sure that for anybody that doesn't know Andy, where can they find out more about you? I keep bugging you. You're going to keep creating more content on social.
I am going to do that one day, I promise. And we're getting to that point. An episode on my trepidation of doing that, but no. So you can find me Andy McCloy on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram at Andy McCloy _BCI. It's Andy McCloy, ANDYMCCLOY _BCI. Yeah,
we'll put that into the show notes as well. And again, like, look, our goal, actually something me and Andy have been talking about, is like to start creating some collaborative content around this, in snippets and more in depth. We're going to try to have them come out so that we do a live in studio, with my studio here at Vigor Ground, and go riff even more in depth on this with some whiteboards. But as always, brother, phenomenal. Love talking to you, obviously on and off air. But
that's right.
I appreciate you, and we'll definitely do another episode. Again, for you guys, listen, make sure, share, review. That means the world to us. And again, this is how we spread the message. But with that said, you could have been anywhere. You were here. Thank you. See you, and you'll hear me next time on the Vigor Life podcast. Peace out.
That was awesome.